COVID-19 can be characterized as a pandemic.
You can be born into the royal family or you can marry into it.
4 police officers have been fired after a man was pinned to the ground and died.
Mass protests here in the United States have sparked a global movement against racial discrimination.
I first heard about COVID-19 when I was on a job in New York. I was actually visiting a friend during the job and he mentioned something about the COVID-19 and I literally never heard about it, and they told me like people were like falling dead on the streets just randomly and stuff, like literally didn't hear anything about it. And then I guess when I came back to the UK, that's when it kind of hit me because it was all over the news and stuff.
They were scared of getting infected themselves.
So we were coming home from work and there was like a few cases cropping up like in the UK, and you were hearing about it like being over here and people starting to die. It was just really worrying like how fast like it was progressing and how like quick the death toll was actually going up. And like you just don't think that it's gonna affect you, and it was just absolutely like terrifying, like thinking that I could get it or like my dad could get it or my baby girl, and it was just so scary.
I literally didn't think it was going to last. I thought it was just going to be a temporary thing, and then 1 week became 2, then 3, then 4, and then it became like 2 months. How long? I think it was like 3 months overall, and like I couldn't cope with it. I felt more alone the most was the second lockdown, because in the first lockdown I had my boyfriend with me and I had someone with me to cope. But the second time, besides from having a puppy, because I had the same routine every day, like wake up, walk the dog out, give him food. It was just, it's like every day was the same, and it got really, really like boring and lonely, and obviously couldn't see a lot of people. It was just, wasn't a nice feeling. Even though I had a dog, it was nice to have him then, but it's weird, like you still need like human interaction, so.
When I found out I was pregnant with my son, Albie, obviously they said that like all your scans, all your appointments, like no one's allowed to go with you, like you're not allowed to see anyone, so I couldn't see Albie's dad, like we couldn't discuss anything, like I was just literally on my own in my house with my daughter. I just felt like I had no one to talk to, like I just didn't know like what to do, like there was just no one to talk to. It was just like so scary, and obviously it's a massive thing having a baby, and when I got pregnant with Eva I had so much support and it was like really good, and then I was just like worried like what if something's wrong, like you just got no one. It was really hard to like explain to Eva that we couldn't go to anyone's house, we couldn't see anyone, she couldn't see her dad, she couldn't see my mum and dad, like she couldn't go to nursery, and she just didn't understand why one day everything was fine and normal, and the next day she was like everything had just like been flipped upside down, like we just couldn't go anywhere, or it was just nothing to do.
Like this, I was jobless, like no income, nothing, and it just hit me. It was just like I felt like a weight on my face pushing in like this, and literally thought like, what exactly am I going to do? And the first few weeks I was going crazy. I was just like in my head like, what do self-unemployed people do? Like, what do they actually do?
Like you realise how much you take everything for granted, and like just being able to give my mum a hug, or like when I'm upset or when I'm stressed or finding it hard and I just need a bit of help and a bit of support, like sometimes just go with my dad's and he'd just hug me and he'd be like, you're alright, you're doing amazing. And I was just like, because I'm a single mum, it was just me and Eva, and there was like no one to say like, you're doing good, you've got this.
I actually don't think I've felt alone this whole lockdown. Having my 13-year-old daughter was just, you can't be alone when you've got her. Everything we do together, normally, apart from being at work or school, but when this happened 24/7, she was at my side. So I think I became a TikTok mum, if I'll be brutally honest.
I took her to my penthouse and I freaked it.
I know I fucked up, I'm just a loser.
Look, I just flipped the switch.
Classy, bougie, ratchet, sassy, moody, nasty,
Sick with it, group drop.
TikTok's probably amazing because it keeps you going and it's just like people inspire you to do stuff. It's been a distraction because we've been able to have fun while the world is like in a pandemic.
TikTok was so bizarre for me. I've watched Ruby dance all these years. She was the one that danced. I was just a mum in the background, and then I became the performance seal. And I was literally, mum, try this, mum, let me do this to you, mum, let me try that with you. And it was hilarious. I don't like the serious ones. It has to be stupid. So, not sick of it. I mean, she's constantly dancing around my living room no matter where I am. Having Ruby and just us two being at home, she had to homeschool herself completely on her own every day while I went to work. So my hours had changed. Instead of going to work late in the night, I'd be leaving the house at 6 in the morning. She'd be getting up, making herself breakfast, doing her schoolwork, and then I'd be getting home around 2-3 o'clock. She was having to step up a lot. She grew. We've had a close relationship forever. We are, like, she's my sidekick. I don't go anywhere without her. But this, more than ever, you grew. And it was amazing. It was just, the relationship was just completely a different thing. So watching her grow through this was brilliant. The sensibility of her, how she was able to fend for herself, all things like that, whilst not being able to see her friends, go to school, do her dancing.
I had my mum, we were always doing stuff together and it just made us stronger and knew that lockdown wouldn't beat us, we'd beat that. Thank you for just being the performance seal. You do everything and you're just like, you're always there to help and you're just amazing, really.
Say thank you for being the best kid I could have ever wished for. I have two amazing girls, but having to leave you at home killed me. You did all your work, you made me the proudest mum I could ever be, and you just smiled all the way through it.
Seeing a video basically in 4K of a man being brutally murdered.
Please, 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 I can't breathe.
We were in a lockdown and people didn't know what it meant, people didn't know what the disease was, people didn't know what COVID-19 was, and we were just stuck in our rooms, in our homes. I think for a lot of people, they hadn't witnessed something like that, and for a lot of other people, they hadn't sat and watched something like that and had to actually deep it and understand it and unpack it, whereas a lot of black people have seen it and were desensitized to it, but a lot of people aren't desensitized to it and they were just so shocked and horrified, and I think that became the catalyst for the movement.
He's the first of the 5 men to be questioned who were charged with Stephen Lawrence's murder, but never convicted.
After 18-year-old Anthony Walker was murdered with an axe in a Liverpool park just because he was black.
This has turned into a slavery issue from some bloke dying by a corrupt policeman.
Protesters were peaceful but angry about George Floyd's death in the US, that America's woes of inequality and racism resonated in their lives here.
If you don't understand that the police force was created and the system was created to be put against us, then you don't quite understand the severity of how unfair the system is. And institutionalized racism comes in all forms. It's very subtle, but also very blatant, and that's what's so frustrating. It's so clear to so many people, but because it's embedded within rules and clouded language and all sorts, people are often like very pan to it. They're not very aware of it. And I think when you have cases like Richard or Kurugay, you have Blessing, you have Shukri, all these beautiful black people who were killed, potentially murdered, and who have died in an unquestionable manner. We can't really question how they were killed. We don't know what happened, and it's like, what happened to them? Why is there not an investigation? I think it's so important that, and I know there's tax monies and all that sort of stuff and all these legalities of it all, but at the end of the day, if someone goes missing, it should be the duty of the police force to do and handle it the same way they would handle it for any other person. If you want to spend hundreds of millions of pounds on one person to look for someone, put that same energy for another person of different race, different colour, different gender, different sexual orientation. It is just as important. Their life is just as important. Their life is just as equal. Why is it that because I am black, that my life is treated and disregarded to the side? Why is it that because I'm black, that if I go missing, my parents might not know where I am for the next forever?
Women of colour.
She's cradling her
Meghan genuinely cradled her bum in a weirder way than Kate.
That's
just a fact.
It's
a tiny little insignificant thing, but every mother I've talked to said the same thing.
No,
every mother, black, white, gender fluid,
hello.
any mother you like, said the same thing.
When I first met my now husband, my friends were really happy because I was so happy, but my British friend said to me, I'm sure he's great, but you shouldn't do it because the British tabloids will destroy your life. And I very naively, I'm American, we don't have that there. What are you talking about? That doesn't make any sense. I'm not in tabloids. I didn't get it. So it's, yeah, it's been complicated.
There's been so many cases where women have just been completely shut down. I mean, men will mansplain, they'll talk over. There's a million studies about men's language and like the way it's all gendered and how women they just get shit on. I don't know why it's allowed, and I think I could think about it for days and days on end why it's allowed for people that are darker skinned, something so stupid, the colour of the skin, to be treated so horribly. But it's a complete like ideology of that. To be brown is to be wrong, or that it's wrong for you just to look the way you are because of the way society portrays things as good or bad. Skin colour isn't morally good or bad, it's just a fact. I think as a woman of colour, I've always been, people have been racist to me. It is what it is. I think more with British racism, it's that, I think a lot of people say it's covert, and it's not, it's in plain sight. I think that's more what it is, and that we get told that it's not there. And I think especially with talks about mental health in regards to Meghan, that's something that just happens on a daily basis for especially women of colour. Obviously I can talk from a level of privilege because I'm very light skinned, but it doesn't save you completely from the torment of racism, and being told that what you feel doesn't matter or that it's not real.
I knew that if I didn't say it, that I would do it, and I just didn't want to be alive anymore.
Serving police constable has tonight been charged with the kidnap and murder of Sarah Everard. Wayne Cousins, aged 48, has been remanded in custody and will appear at Westminster Magistrates Court tomorrow morning. Sarah's family, of course, have been informed of this development and remain supported by specialist officers.
Although cases like this are rare, they remind women everywhere of the steps we take on a daily basis without a second thought to keep ourselves safe.
No man should be in that level of power to be able to hand a woman like that, murder her, rape her, whatever. It's fucking scary to walk outside and to have to think about what you're wearing, which is a stupid concept in itself, and trying to think of all the ways to keep yourself safe when men just shouldn't fucking touch you. We shouldn't have to think about what we wear, how we look, how we interact with men. I shouldn't have to smile at a man to get him to get the fuck away from me. I shouldn't have to be polite. I shouldn't have to smile for a man. You know, keep myself so small so that I don't take up more space so I'm not seen. I shouldn't be afraid to wear something that's above my knee for fear that a man might take that as an invitation. We shouldn't be scared to just exist and take up space. There's a complete parallel. It's not women's responsibility to keep safe at all. It's not ours. It's not ours to take.
We should have the right to our equal rights, and the fact that they tried to get us not to protest is disgusting.
It's a complete human right to be able to protest, and to take that away is absolutely fucking ridiculous. Like, how are you gonna do anything if you can't debate your ideas and say what you think is right? There's a billion people. If we all agreed on the same thing, nothing would get done. Nothing would be the way it is now. I can't imagine a society where everyone got along, and there's nothing wrong with having opposing ideas, but the fact that we can talk about those ideas is a human right. And the fact that it's become illegal now to protest something that isn't pre-approved by a racist, sexist, white system is absolutely fucking ridiculous. And it's terrifying to know that if I want to protest so that any of my friends or myself don't get murdered for either the way we look or what's between our legs or how we identify, that I could get arrested. That's so preposterous, the idea that I might not be able to have a job because I might get arrested, because I can't promise that I won't go protest those things, because I will, because it's my human right, and it's the only way I know how to fight back at a system that doesn't want me or my friends to exist.
I say to my friends who are sad or who are grieving, like, you gotta feel. If it's anger, be angry, but don't stay in that mindset, because that's where it becomes unhealthy. If you're sad, be sad, cry. I feel like it's so nice and it's so needed for a person to cry once in a while and feel whatever they feel.
You just realise that little stupid things don't matter, and all that matters is family and just being together and being healthy and being safe and being able to see people. Like, that's all that really matters.
Because I know my voice matters. Like, I don't have to scream as much as I scream Black Lives Matter. I know, like, I really do know my worth. I know that I'm black, I know that I'm beautiful, I know that I'm talented, I know that I'm gifted. I know that so many black people are gifted. I know that our words and our language and our culture and our foods and our clothes, I know that all matters. I know.
The feeling will go away, because it's temporary, it's just temporary. You're strong enough to get through it.
You have the capacity. Use your audacity. Celebrate your vivacity. And be guided by your tenacity.
Times that I've seen you lose your way, not in control, you won't be told. All I can do to keep you safe is hold you close till you can breathe on your own, till you can breathe on your own. Hold tight, you're slowly coming back to life. I've been keeping your head up, I've been keeping your head up, dog. Let go of all your haunted dreams. Everyone keeps a darker place to lose control. You're not alone. And when you come looking for embrace, I know your soul. I'll be your